Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's go ahead and talk about this. You see the title. A pro choicer has the audacity to try to argue the point that a fetus is not a human being. Somebody give me that math. Somebody give me the formula for this. Where did she come with this solution from? And she's in college. This was on a college campus, and they were having this discussion. I thought you went to college to gain knowledge and to further your education, not to become. I ain't gonna call the lady nothing like that. All right. I'll just go ahead and focus on this main point and just stay on this point. So she tried to argue that a fetus is not a human being. Y'all tell me, what does a fetus grow into? When a fetus is properly nourished and when that fetus starts to go through the metamorphosis that it goes through or the evolutionary cycle that it goes through, what does that fetus grow into? Well, a human being. Same as any other fetus. Well, these are the arguments that are taking place, and she was so dead serious about that. She sat there and she was arguing with conviction that a fetus is not a human being. And there were many people. There was one young lady in the group who was studying to be a biologist, and she definitely reinforced the fact that a fetus is a human being. It's the same as saying a seed becomes a tree. A seed becomes a tree that bears fruit. If I have a peach and I take the seed out of the peach, then guess what? Once that seed is fertilized, it's going to go into its germination stage. When that seed goes into its germination stage, it's going to start to bloom and blossom. And when it reaches its full potential, it's going to yield peaches, not apples or pears, and it's not going to yield an inanimate object. It's not going to yield baby trees. You're not going to go to a peach tree and see baby. Well, actually you are, because the peaches that grow, they now have a seed that can actually become another peach tree. And so the whole point that I'm making is, when you see a peach seed, you plant that peach seed and you fertilize it and you take care of it, you expect to see a peach tree as a result of that creation process. And so for somebody to say that a fetus is not the result of the creation process, well, if that's the case, then why are people why are people not walking around just with fetuses in their stomachs? If a fetus was not the product of a procreation act, then why aren't women just walking around with miscellaneous fetuses in their womb? You know what I'm saying? Nobody has just a mysterious fetus that appeared in them out of nowhere. It took a process of having sex to where her egg was fertilized by that man's seed. And that's what causes the germination process, which creates that fetus that is going to grow into the human that they already are. You know what I'm saying? It's getting caught up in terminology. The way you speak your words and the way you say these things is going to be very important, because they love to catch you up in semantics. Because if I would have said that fetus will then grow into a person, then somebody would come along and with the dumbass idea of, aha, so you admit that a fetus is not a human because you say when it grow into a human. So that means it has to grow into a human. with semantics and word manipulation is what they'll try to do in order to validate their point, even though they're grasping at straws just on wordplay alone. And that is so ignorant and so insulting to people's intelligence. I know it is to mine. And so I just listened for a minute, and she continued to go on, and she had no valid points to back up what she was saying, while everybody else on the opposing side definitely had receipts to go along with their claims. And so when people are fueled with what they consider righteous indignation and emotion, and they go out and they start to lash out at people in public, that's cause for a whole lot of friction. And they better be careful with the type of energy that they bring into themselves. This is why I allude and I give that same cautionary tale to my Hebrew Israelite brothers. Saturday, me and my wife was out doing some shopping and stuff like that. And, we saw the guys setting up over there, and I knew what it was going to be. And so I sat there while pumping my gas, and to listen to the rhetoric that was being spread, it was very distasteful. With you standing out on the corner and you have a loudspeaker and you spewing out cuss words, and you don't know whose people children are around with them at the store that are in earshot of what you're saying, and you have no reverence, you have no respect for the public, and you're just gonna talk like that in front of everybody. It's what I'm alluded to whenever I express my grievances that I have with those brothers. And there's many groups out there like that who will be fueled by emotion, and they will allow that emotion to dictate their actions. And anytime you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you're up for and subject to anything that takes place by being fueled by emotion and having no logic and having no self-control. So when this young lady says what she says, I take it with a grain of salt, and I try to understand where she gets her logic from. But if she never explains where she came to the conclusion that a fetus is not a human being, then there's no way I can give her any benefit of the doubt. There's no way that I can try to understand her, because she's not giving me anything to try to understand. So I just want to pose this question. What do y'all think? Do y'all feel that once the sperm hit the egg and conception is created, that is the beginning of life? Or do you feel like the beginning of life is once that fetus has grown into an actual baby shape? When we talk about fetus, we talk about the little embryo, and in the first stages, that's life. Life has already been created at that point. That is the vessel that the life is going to flow through. That is the start of it. So for somebody to try to claim that that is not a human being, what is the end game for that message? What is the end game or the goal for that narrative? You said you don't consider it until it can survive on its own. I consider it a human from the time of conception, because, like I say, that is the vessel that is going to usher that life into well, the life is already in existence. It's just dependent on the mother at that time. But once it gets to the point to where it is fully developed and it's able to exist independent of the mother's system, then it goes just into a different phase. But to say that it is not a human because it is in the beginning phases is I can't rock with that logic. So it's a conversation to be had. It's a tough conversation. It's a conversation that may rub some people the wrong way, especially if you have an opposing view. But I'm willing to have the conversation with anybody, because I need this to be explained to me. I need to have clarification on why somebody would think that. You know, there's been so many different reports and so many people having so many different debates about when a baby is a baby. Well, if that embryo or that fetus is not in there, then human life is not going to be possible in that person, period. Period. So from the time that germination happens, whenever that little one sperm out of the 50 million makes it to that egg, at that point, that's when a human life is created. Now, Yahweh may choose to take it before it comes out of the womb, just like he used to do Sarah. He made Sarah barren for a long time and closed up her womb. There was a couple other females whose wombs were closed up. But then he decided to bless her in her old age, and that's why, you know, Isaac's name meant laughter, because Sarah laughed whenever God said, "You're going to have a child," after all of these years. And all of her fruitful years was gone. She was at the point to where her eggs was dried up, like uh, somebody was discussing on their panel couple days ago, talking about they dry cooch. That's where Sarah was. She was old. She was past her prime. All of those childbearing years were far gone. And so she laughed whenever God said that. And that's why Isaac's name was Isaac, because it meant laughter. And so, um, yeah, that's just my stance on that. I try. What's up, Lovey? How you doing? What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for everybody falling in. This is a touchy subject right here that I'm talking about, because this young lady just got up in front of a whole entire university and she claimed that that a child is, well, a fetus is not a human being. And I'm like, okay, give me some more, so I can try to see where you're coming from or where you're going with this. And there was nothing. There was just that declaration that a fetus is not a human, and nothing else. Just left at that. And so there was other people who came up and stated the otherwise, and pretty much went with the view that I agreed with. And that person was just very insistent in keep repeating the same thing over, and then getting belligerent and trying to disrupt the conversation, because they were angry that no one was accepting their view. So I like to have conversations about stuff, but I only want to have conversations with people who are able to have a civil conversation without making it a vendetta thing or something like that, and just remaining to the topic. So, is a fetus considered a human being? I think very much so. Um, there's no other way that we can produce human beings. And from the start of something starts at some point. And no matter what that starting point is, whatever the end result of that thing is, once it completes its transformation, then that's what that thing is. And so if that fetus is going to become a human and it's a product of the procreation process of two humans, then that is a human. No matter what stage it is in, that's just what I believe. And that's what I've always seen. And it's logical to me. So if anybody can give me some information and some logic that can change that, then that's where I stand on that. But for people to be so adamant about you know what they believe in, this is what's necessary, and this goes to what I was talking about before about you having to risk offending people in order for us to gain understanding and to get answers to things. Because if everybody just agree on something, we could all be agreeing to the wrong thing and set ourselves up for a very bad situation. So you have to have somebody to challenge you. You have to have somebody who's willing to offend you by saying that, no, I don't agree with what you're saying right now. So if you can't give me information to change my mind, then I'm going to have to disagree. We have to have those types of conversations. Just imagine a world of everybody just agreeing. It wouldn't last that long. I guarantee you that our entire civilization would have been gone a long time ago if there wasn't those people who said, "Nah, I don't go along with that. I don't think that's a good idea." So somebody said, "Okay, well that's okay. That's a pretty good idea, but what about this?" You have to always be willing to offend whenever you have a mandate to create, when you have a vision and you have something that you have to accomplish. There's no time to worry about who's offended by what you're doing, because there's always going to be somebody offended by what you're doing. So if you're concerned about every single person that's going to be offended by what you say and what you do, then this is not the place for you. This is not the business for you. It's not the job for you. Allow somebody else to handle that. And then find something that you can do to contribute to the movement and the cause, to where you don't have to be put in a position where you are not skilled and sufficient enough to take care of that. But that's just, I don't know, that's just my thoughts, my general thoughts. But people who are coming out here and, making bold claims, I just want to know, where did you get your information from? It's a very simple question. It's a very simple question, and we've been talking about people who don't like to answer questions because those people really don't have an answer. If they were people of substance, then they wouldn't have a problem answering certain questions. If there were people of substance, then they wouldn't have a problem answering any questions, to be honest. But that's a whole different story. So, yeah, I'm going to sit back and just see what this day is going to bring. It's already 1 o'clock. Half of my day is already gone. That's been taken up just by editing and doing different things on across my platforms. I was just recently, as soon as I got back on Facebook, I was put in Facebook jail. They had me on restriction yesterday because I told somebody who was a survivor of sexual assault to punch somebody in the throat. No, I specifically said before or after I punch him in the throat, because I posed it as a question. It was like, what do you do if people blame you for this and that and that and this? And I was like, what do you mean, before or after the throat punch? That's you, Hurricane. You did that. You got me on this whole throat punching kick. So but it was legit though. It was legit. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, bro? Hey, I went over to your channel, man. I love your editing skills. You be doing some dope little videos, man. I'm gonna have to get with you and pick your brain, man. See how you do a lot of that stuff, what tools you use. But yeah, man, that's dope. He said we always get in trouble with our throat punches. Yes, indeed, we do. We absolutely do. That throat punch is very threatening. That's taking away all of that win. So, hey, but for that conversation that we was having, the problem that I have with these other platforms like Facebook and their community guidelines are very they're it's not a balance. because you can see some things on a person's on page that has a high volume of followers and all of that stuff, a high volume of activity, and they'll allow them to get away with more stuff than they would do anybody else. Yeah, absolute unfair practices. And so I tend to not have any regard for their community guidelines. And I guess enough people have complained now about Facebook just being a Gestapo and just they restrict your page and you don't have no say in the matter and you don't have no opportunity to fight it, because now they've set up this little feature to where you can kind of appeal it, even though it's, you know, you're appealing to Facebook. Really, what good is that doing? But now they've added this little feature to where you can voice your disapproval of them suspending you for certain stuff, and I guess kind of have your day in court. But it, like I'll say again, it does absolutely no good when they are the one who's judging the appeal. Why would I appeal to the people who are the culprit? That doesn't make any sense. That's pretty stupid within itself. But I'm like, okay, got you. You say you be using InShot app? Oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out, man. Appreciate you, my brother. And it came a long way from when first started and stuff, man. So congratulations to you, Mike. Keep on pushing, man. I'm looking forward to seeing more content from you, brother, because like I said, with those editing skills and the way you cleverly put that stuff together, it's very entertaining. So, yeah, dog, I got you back. I'm always be there to support you, and whatever you put out there, I'm gonna be on it. But yeah, getting back to the topic. All right, if you're gonna be ignorant, at least be open-minded enough to be able to say that I was wrong. You know, and that's one of my main things. I won't sit here and just because I disagree with you doesn't mean that I think you're stupid. You know, in order for you to be able to argue with me, then that means that you have to have some level of knowledge or understanding about what the subject is, so you're not a stupid person. And I don't treat you that way. You may say something stupid. You may, your position may not make sense to me. But if you can clarify that to me, then I'll be more than welcome to listen and consider anything. But, you know, if you're just speaking talking points and you don't have nothing to back it up, no sources, no nothing, yeah, you know, I'm weary of people like that, because that could be based just on your authority and who are you. You see, so that's just the way that I look at it, and I'm just gonna keep it greasy like that. I I have to. I remember I was talking to this one guy, and we was arguing. We was arguing. People love to try to dress it up, but we was arguing because I was pretty pissed at him, and he was pretty pissed at me. And you know how we do. We try to cover it up with words like brother. We say brother at the end, so it'll seem like we're still in unity. But in actuality, we saying you punk ass nigga. That's really what be going on. So I'd be like, nah, so blase, blase, blah, 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 brother. Well, blase, blah, 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 brother. Man, that old passive aggressive thing, right? So my whole point was, um, we was talking about land. Would you rather take 40 acres and a mule that was promised to us, or that was requested by us? Or would you rather take money and just go from there? Say a certain amount of money, say 400,000. Let's go up a little bit. Say $750,000. So would you take 40 acres and a mule, or would you take $750,000 as reparations? That's what the question was. And we began to argue because me and this person, you know, we had differences of choice. My choice being the money, his choice being the land. And so we got into it, and then other people started compounding in it, and so I just shut the whole thing down because I was like, all right, everybody check this out. If you look at the fact that these people came over here, took the people who helped them to get through what would have surely wiped them out, and they double crossed them, stabbed them in the back, took all of their land, put them onto reservations, and won't give them their land back. What the hell make you think they're going to give you any land? What make you think that they're going to be okay with giving all the descendants of slaves 40 acres and a mule when they won't even give that shit to the indigenous people? And, dude was angry at that point. He couldn't even argue about it. He just kept saying that, land is the way to go. Land is the way to go. And, I was like, that may be the case for you where you're at in your geographical location, which he was down in on the East Coast. And I'm like, down in that area, that may be the big thing booming, is to have land, because that's what's being preached by certain leaders down there. And I see the political climate in that area. So, of course, that's what you're going to be leaning to, because that is the narrative that's definitely being spoon fed to everybody in that region that he was from, which is Georgia. And so I'm like, yo, if you want land, then you go ahead and get land. But just understanding getting that land and thinking that you're a landowner, you are not going to truly be a landowner, because if they need that land for something bigger, then they're going to find the loopholes in the system to get that land from you, regardless of whether you think it's paid for or not. And I know that personally because my mom went through that. And so, even though I'm giving him the background of factual things and life experiences that I and my family went through with this government concerning land that is paid for and owned, but they want to use that area because it can be a lucrative deal. And now they're putting pressure on the little people to sell their land, and they're coming up with these different stipulations, and they're raising the property taxes so that the people can't afford that land so that they can get it through those means. But if they want that land, take that land, they'll take that land. And I also brought up the fact of how when the whole Trump administration was on that rebuilding the border wall kick, and all of the people whose land was in the path of where they wanted to build that wall, and how they were planning to take those people land that was paid for, that was supposedly in those people's family for generations, and they were going to take it. So to think that America is going to give you something that they won't even give to the indigenous people, it really, really it leads me to believe that we're being gullible. It leads me to believe that we're being very naive in thinking that this country is going to give us anything. And so I had that argument with that brother. And at the end, I always let him know it's always love. And regardless of how much we argue and disagree, I still respect you and you still my brother. I have to leave with that, because I know that tempers flare whenever you know, get the best point over on somebody, or you hit them with something that they can't argue against. You always got to leave with a soft voice, and just de-escalate the situation. But a lot was gained in that conversation. A lot of understanding between each other was gained in that conversation, and I really appreciate that brother for challenging me on my views like that, because a lot of people will shy away from that. Yeah, that whole 40 acres and a mule thing. It's very cliche to say, but there's a lot of people who still expecting that. And I wouldn't really want anything from this government in that form of fashion because I know how they would lord it over your head and how they would never let you forget how they're the ones that put you in that position and how you should be grateful. And I don't need all of that. You can keep all of that. I'm good where I'm at. I'm in a pretty good bracket. I'm comfortable here. Everything is Gucci. So, but yeah, yeah. Is a fetus a human? Well, I hope so. That's the case. There's y'all might want to check y'all stomach for fetuses because you might just have a miscellaneous fetus in your stomach and you thinking that you having a stomach ache or something like that. It may just be a fetus that just developed out of nowhere and it's starting to and your body's starting to reject it because it's a foreign object that doesn't belong in the body because it's not a human or anything like that. You know, based on that woman's logic, then that's basically what I would gain from what she was saying. If a fetus is not a human and that's not the beginning stages of it growing into what is going to be um, a full blown child in the infancy stages, then I don't even have any more argument for it. There's some things that you just don't spend a lot of time arguing. You just try to gain some understanding of where that logic came from, where that idea came from, how somebody could get to that conclusion. And if you can find a way to understand it, then cool. If you can't, then just leave it alone and keep on moving because there's no time to concern yourself with these hypotheticals that have nothing backing it. That's just where I'm at with that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to get on and talk about that for a little bit because certain things don't sit right in my spirit when I hear it. And that's one of those things that didn't sit right in my spirit. Hold up, a fetus is not a human. What is it? A cactus? An animal? Is it a no, I ain't gonna say that. But you know, that's the word that's out there. So there's a few people that share that same view. And if that's your view, then, you know, I respect your right to have that view. But I just can't roll with that. I can't agree with that. So we can agree to disagree and no love lost on that matter. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about for right now. I'll just be checking in on everybody today. Like I said, I don't sub to people and then not go in and check out their content and interact with them on their channel. I like to set aside time to just go through and just respond to certain videos that I see on your channel that catch my attention or certain imagery and stuff like that. And just to let you know that I'm in the building. I ain't one of those people who's just a sub in title only. So I'll be doing that for the next couple hours or so. And you know, it is what it is. You say this is human, it just can't survive on its own. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it is. It's just it's a human, it's just not able to survive on its own yet. It has to go through the developmental stage for its vital organs and stuff like that in order for it to be able to survive on its own. But you know, that wording and the way she said it was it, I don't know if she meant to word it like that and she just said it like that because she was angry, but the way she said it, it produced laughter is what it did. A lot of people were, you know, the smack the forehead moment. Oh my God, what did this boy just say? Come on, man. You got to do the boosty whenever somebody says something. Come on, man. Come on, no, dog. Come on, man. Not a human mind. Come. You got to do one of those whenever you hear somebody make a statement of such magnitude with y'all should have seen her face. She was so serious. She was so convicted, and she had such a look of piety on her face. And I was like, what? What? It's just like that meme of Swaggy P with all of the question marks, the face that he be making. What? Or the African dude. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. It was one of those moments, man, and I'm trying to be serious and I'm really trying to gain some understanding. But when you hear other people in the crowd starting to laugh and giggle, and then you see her rage start to go higher because she realizes that people are laughing at her, it was a funny moment, man. But I took the questions serious and I brought it to y'all, man, to see what y'all think of it. Because although I think that her logic is funny, there's a lot more people who feel the same way that she does, and they're very serious, as she demonstrated. So this is just a demonstration of all of the different mindsets and all of the different thought processes that coexist within the United States. Yes, there are some people, if you look at the totality of us as a population, there are many people that you can section off into different large groups, and then you can even break those down into subgroups within those groups and just micromanage the whole entire process until you narrow it down to the individuals. But you're always going to find somebody that will share a certain stance that you have on something. There's always somebody out there that's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's how a lot of these different denominations in Christianity came about, because somebody came along and they questioned something that went against something that somebody else taught. And there was a group of people who were like, yeah, you know what? This guy over here is making sense. He's saying stuff and he's breaking it down in a way that I understand way better than this guy. So I'm going to go over here with his group and we're going to call ourselves this instead of that. And now you have I think it's over 33,000 different denominations of Christianity. So that's based off of people having a different ideology and a different idea and being able to challenge each other's thoughts on things. And so that's necessary for us to grow as people. It's necessary for us to learn. It's necessary for us to discover new things and to cross new barriers. Um, this is how we debunk certain things, because the science is a bunch of theories. When you look at a lot of the scientific things that we live by, it's the theory of relativity. It's the theory of evolution. It's Murphy's law and the theory of this and the hypothesis of that. There's no certainties. There's just a lot of theories. And so can you hang your hat on a bunch of theories? Well, anybody who does that, they call them a conspiracy theorist. That's what you equating yourself to if you're a scientist. If you want to base it on the general definition of what a conspiracy theorist is, because a scientist is never going to give you facts. He's giving you an opinion that's been agreed upon by the majority of people in that field. That's what they're going to give you at best. And so to argue any scientific point is, I just don't do it. I can't rely on the theory. I have to rely on the facts of a matter. And if you can't give me the facts of a matter, then I don't even want it. Hell, even math has changed. And I thought math was an absolute. I thought that numbers were what they are and they would not deviate from that. But now I see that there are new formulas and what was it? Algebraic equations and things of this nature that has transformed the math formulas, and that has transformed the way that you get to the answer as opposed to the way we did back in the day. So everything changes. There's no absolutes. Eve, thank you for joining. Appreciate you for coming in, and welcome to the chat. We're talking about, I was looking at a video where they were having an open panel discussion at a university, and a pro-choicer said that a fetus was not a human. And there was a big debate about it, and just the level of disrespect that was produced in that audience over this subject, it just made me, want to bring this topic to some people who can have a civilized conversation about it. And so if you're just now coming in, I was just speaking about how we argue a lot of points as if they were fact, when in actuality, a lot of times they are theory. We are arguing theory. We are arguing other people's educated guesses. We are arguing the most logical answer that was voted upon by the majority as if it's fact and if it's an absolute, which it is not. And so I have an issue with that. And, especially when it comes down to spiritual conversations or spiritual debates, I'm not going to argue with somebody about which religion has the truth or has the most truth or anything of that nature, because it's one of those conversations it's unnecessary. You're not going to get anywhere. It's going to be very unfruitful, and it's just going to breed a lot of tension between you and somebody else. So I don't even have those conversations, because if anybody will try to discredit what somebody has researched and what somebody has been indoctrinated in when they've done research and have been indoctrinated as well, the only thing that is different is what they believe, the content that they're believing, and they're claiming to be the truth. I don't see where anybody has any upper ground or any leverage in that conversation, because none of us know anything. If you knew anything, then faith would not be a requirement in our life. I don't know anything. If I come in here and I sit down in this chair, I don't know that this chair is going to hold my weight, but it's held my weight so many times that I'm just making the assumption that it's going to. But if I don't know that this leg has a split all the way down because I don't see it, and it's about to go, I'm going to sit down as I've sat down many times before, because the chair has never let me down. And then that chair is going to break on me and I'm going to end up on the floor. But I've put my faith in that chair so many times before, because it's always held me up to this point. And so if we knew something, then we don't need faith. And me sitting down in that chair, I'm not thinking twice about it. I'm not sitting there debating about it. I don't need to go pray about sitting down in this chair. I don't have to build myself up in my most holiest faith and get my confidence together to sit down in this chair. Because in my mind, this chair is going to hold my weight when I sit down. So it doesn't require faith for me to sit down in this chair. Not a lot of faith anyway. So, there's just different things that comes out, and we don't know anything. So for somebody to try to discredit the information that I've chose to believe in with the information that they chose to believe in, I was like, it's really not going to go anywhere. And I'll start to disengage from that conversation at that point, because nothing that they're saying is fruitful. And we're not going to agree, so we're at a standstill. You said, nope, math changes all the time. Yeah, math does change all the time. You said you birthed 6 humans. I didn't even catch that. How let that get by me? You birthed, yeah. So I've seen that process. So I've seen the end result of, that. I've seen the end result of the birthing process, and I'm telling you, that's definitely a human. And I was there from the very beginning. So when we got that first ultrasound and saw that little speck down in there, because I that first ultrasound, I'm telling y'all, I lied. You know how people always trying to make you be able to see the shape and this and that. I lied. I was just saying that just because I was tired of looking and trying to see something that wasn't there. It's like those puzzles that you get where you look into it and you just got to keep staring into it until you see the shape form. That's what ultrasounds always. All of my kids' ultrasounds look like that to me. Like, I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. What am I looking at? Okay, I see a little ridge right there. I see a dot right there. I see a squiggly line right there. Nigga, the baby is the squiggly line. Nigga, I was never able to understand that, but I played like I did just because it was in the moment, and her eyes was just so bright and she was just so excited. I didn't want to spoil the moment. I'm like, yeah, baby, look right. Oh, wow. Oh, that's the foot. That's the foot. Okay, I thought that was the kneecap, but okay. I got you. I got you. I see how that could be a foot. Yeah, I had to do that. Y'all don't laugh at me, man. Don't laugh at me, man. That's just real. There's a lot of other brothers, man. They would be really honest, man. They know that very first ultrasound. They didn't know what the hell they was looking at. They were turning it sideways. They was flipping it over, holding it up in the mirror, trying to see if they could see it in reverse. We didn't know what the hell we were looking at, and that's just a little secret I shouldn't let out from my brothers. But yeah, a lot of times we fake seeing the actual shape of the baby and all of that stuff when y'all be showing us that stuff. That's just real talk. But nonetheless, even though I can see the shape or I can't see the shape, there's no doubt in my mind that that is a human being in its early stages, in its beginning development process. Period. You can use semantics and word manipulation to try to label it as something else, but it is what it is. And that goes back to everything else that's taking place now with word manipulation and trying to label things in a way to where they are not, to where they are considered to be what they're really not. If you can read between the lines, then you understand what I'm talking about. Things out here that are being labeled in such a manner that they will be considered something that they really are not. And one of the prophecies in for these last days, there's a certain group of people. This may be a little off topic, but I'm saying it anyway. In these last days, there's a group of people who are playing the role of another culture, and they're really not. So this is a practice that was prophesied. This said hundreds and hundreds of years ago. This was documented, and it was proclaimed, and it's taking place now. So I'm sticking strong with what I've been sticking with because it haven't led me astray yet. And everything that I've studied and everything that I've rightly divided and everything that I've sought revelational knowledge on is being made clear to me on a regular basis. And I'm not saying that it's in the form of being made clear to where it can be considered a coincidence. No, it is to the point to where I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, and that's always been one of my prayers. Make things very plain to me. Make them very plain to me and let me know that it is you. Don't give any room for me to have doubt that it is you. And I should have thought twice before I said that prayer, because in order for Yahweh to take away all of your doubt that it is in fact him that is doing a thing, that means that he has to take away all of your other sources, your other resources that you would use to get through something or to get past something or work past something. And so that's a very dangerous prayer to pray, because that means that now you out there and you just got to step out on nothing but faith at that point, so that he can show you that it's only by him that you made it through this. It is only by him that you are on this path that you're on right now. So yeah, man, it's definitely beneficial though whenever you take that walk. It's definitely beneficial whenever you come out on the other end and you've gained the wisdom and the understanding in these situations. Man, I've been on so many different spiritual journeys, and I've had so many different people question me on my belief system, question me. I've had people say, man, just what exactly do you believe? Because they will say something against the Christian church thinking that that's something that's going to offend me. And sometimes I may agree with the point that they have about the Christian church, because there are things about the church that I don't agree with, and there's things about the church that I don't participate in. I would be considered more of an unorthodox Christian, if anything else, very unorthodox Christian, because I don't adhere to a lot of the pagan things within Christianity. And so they don't know how to come at me. They don't know how to approach me. Are you a Jehovah's Witness? Are you a 7-day Adventist? Are you a Moor? Are you a Hebrew Israelite? They come with, are you a Muslim? They come with all different types of labels to try to place on me so that they can pinpoint what I am, so that they can protect that, so that they can attack that specifically. But whenever your understanding covers a broad range, whenever you're open-minded to different ideas and different ideologies and things of that nature, you know, it's hard for somebody to try to attack you, because in doing so, they may attack some of their own beliefs. So it's a very slippery slope for them to try to come at me. And oftentimes, the Democrats and the Republicans are the ones that are the most infamous for this. Anytime I speak within a political arena and I speak against one side, they're instantly going to call me their opposing force that they always go up against. So if I criticize a Republican, they're going to claim that I'm a Democrat. If I criticize a Democrat, they're going to claim I'm a Republican. If I criticize both Democrats and Republicans, then they're going to say that I'm an independent, which I criticize independence. And when I criticize independence, that's when they say, just what do you believe? Well, I tell you what, I believe that I don't have to be in your group to agree with one specific individual policy. I don't have to wear your banner just to say that, you know what, you're right on that, and I'm going to support you in that. That's what I believe. And they don't know how to take that. So, yeah, you're right. You're right. You said you can't win for losing. And once I realized that, you know, I stopped trying to. Um, I don't mind losing, because sometimes loss is a good thing. Sometimes you lose things that you necessarily didn't need in your possession anyway. So some losses I'm willing to take in life. See how I did that? See how I flipped that up? Yeah. But yeah, I'm willing to take some losses. Some losses have been good for me. You know, I look at it in hindsight and I think back on it and I think about what those things did in my life, and where my life is now that I'm absent that thing. And I see that that loss was actually a good thing for me. So I just take everything with a grain of salt when it comes down to stuff like that. But I know when I'm arguing with somebody and they're just adamant about driving home this point, I'd be like, okay, you know what, we got your point. And that's how I will appease them, and that's how I will often get them to calm down and to just lower that level of aggression, is to agree with the fact that they have the right to feel the way that they do. That's always that manipulative tactic that seems to bring you closer to common ground with somebody. I'll be like, all right, well, I respect your right to believe that. I respect your right to operate in that for yourself. And I'll just leave it there. No jab, no little slick jab at the end, no nothing like that, nothing sarcasm to insult their intelligence, none of that stuff. Just agree to disagree. And that's how it should be. I understand that coexisting with people in this world doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with everybody. It means that I'll be able to not agree with you, but yet still respect you as a human being and be able to work beside you and to get a task complete and not allow something like our religious differences or our political differences or values and moral differences to stop us from creating or completing the task at hand. That's true unity right there. That is true unity. And see, when we speak about black people coming together and being unified as one, we always think of it in the sense of we all have the same mind state. We all agree on everything, and we all just following one big leader into a battle, and everybody's in agreement. No, that's not true. That's not true. We don't agree on every single point, but we do agree that the bigger picture is more important than our smaller gripes. And so we will forego those smaller gripes so that we can work together to get something done. That's why I loved sports. That was one of my main reasons for loving sports, because that's something that sports teaches you. I could take kids who in school, they were not friends. They were enemies. Some of them were bullying each other. But once they got out there on that football field and they became teammates, they would, if you would see it, you would see the progression of it. They would initially start out with the same relationship that they had in school. They would kind of bully that kid until they found out, oh, he pretty nice on defense. Oh, you see how little so-and-so popped, old boy? I didn't know he had that in them. And I've actually seen children go from having a bully to victim relationship to becoming friends because they appreciate each other's athletic abilities that they didn't even know that that person had, nor did they care to know. And that's what I loved about sports, seeing it change the dynamic of relationships between these children and how it was teaching them to coexist on a team with people who you don't necessarily agree with, or you don't come from the same background or same belief system, but y'all can come together for a common goal, and that's to win. And that's a very important lesson for all children to go through. So people look at children's sports like football and things of that nature, and oh, it's so barbaric and it's this and that. No, we're teaching. We're laying the foundation for that child's life as far as teamwork and social skills, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with, upset, how to deal with disappointment, how to work through disappointment in order to obtain your goal. All of these things are being taught through these sports leagues. And if you have the right coaches that are more like a father to you than a coach, then you hear it all the time when these athletes go on the shows like I Am Athlete, when they go on The Pivot, when they go on any of these talk shows, they're always going to allude to the people who were in their life when their father was absent, and those coaches that they've had along the way who wouldn't allow them to mess their lives up because they saw the potential in them when they didn't see it in themselves. All of these things are necessary down on that lower level at the Boys and Girls Club and all of that, so that we can have that foundation still laid in our children and give them an opportunity to excel in their social lives. That's why that whole thing with Aqib Talib really pissed me off, because the action that his brother took in shooting and killing that other coach in front of all those people at that football game for those little kids, that traumatized a lot of kids who are never going to look at the game of football the same. They're never going to look at teamwork and leadership and all of those things that those coaches was out there preaching and teaching to them every day at practice and after games. All of that was destroyed in that one day. All of it. And I'm not saying for all of those kids, but there's a lot of children who were so destroyed by the actions of Aqib Talib's brother. And we keep saying Aqib Talib's name. It was his brother who actually shot and killed the other coach. But Aqib Talib was definitely one of the instigators in that altercation. And he definitely, as a leader and as a mentor and as somebody who's been in the National Football League, had a major responsibility to where he could have deaded that whole conversation. He could have de-escalated the entire situation, but he chose to add fuel to the fire, and the end result was a man losing his life. And that bothered me really bad, because a lot of those children now are going to be deprived of that opportunity of getting that foundation of teamwork and all of the things that I just named, because of the ignorance of some grown-ups. Yeah. You said you coach baseball. How was that coaching baseball? Are the parents the same as the football parents? I'm pretty sure they are. Um, yeah, because a parent is a parent. An eager parent is an eager parent, no matter what sport it is, I feel like. Because if that parent loves baseball, then that parent's going to be obnoxious at the baseball field. If that parent loves football, they're going to be obnoxious. Whatever their personality is, they're going to carry that to wherever that child goes. So, I pretty much already guessed that, yeah, you had to deal with those obnoxious parents as well, or those ones who could have made it to the majors, but they tweaked their knee in college, and instead of coming out there and showing their expertise, they're sitting over there on the sideline yelling to you what you're doing wrong and what you don't know. It's aggravating, but at the same time, it's expected, man. And if you understand people, man, it was funny. It was definitely funny. Yeah, I know those kids were definitely traumatized. And let me get down here. You said you gave the parents your ground rules, no exceptions. Yeah, you had to do that. If you did not set the ground rules and give them that clear understanding and disclaimer at the very beginning that they will be kicked, or don't say kicked out, but escorted off of the premises if they get out of hand, you have to give that up front. And even sometimes, even though you do that, they still get so caught up in the moment and in their emotions that they forget, and they still take it there. I've seen people threaten referees with gunplay, don't come out into the parking lot, and all types of stuff like that over a 7 and 8 year old game. over a 7, 8 year old game. This is way before, you had brands and stuff like that. So, there wasn't no branding involved. There wasn't no reputation involved. There wasn't none of these things that are now added into the pot involved in this 7 and 8 year old game. But yet still you got these fools out here who acting like their son, this is their last shot to show the big leagues what they really got. That boy ain't number 7 years old. He's still eating boogers. That boy still. Come on, man. Come on, man. I gotta steal it from. Come on, man. These are those come on, man moments. But you have, as a coach or as a referee out there, you have to establish yourself. Because if you don't, then those old has-beens sitting out there trying to relive their life through their kids is gonna be all breathing down your neck. You said you played baseball yourself and you wasn't having it. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. That firm boundary that has to be set. And speaking on that, I want to give a salute to all of the women that's doing their thing in the NFL now. I was noticing the other day that we have a lot more female referees in the NFL. We have a lot more females on the sideline doing sports journalism. We have a lot more female coaches, like actual coaches, not just trainers. And so, salute to all y'all sisters out there doing it. There's one sister, she was the first black female to ever become an actual NBA referee. And I did a show on her a long time ago. It was probably like last year. And that was dope. I also did a show about Becky Hammon becoming an actual NBA coach because they did have her name in the hat as a possibility for some of the teams who were looking for a head coach. And we had that discussion about Becky Hammon. So to see her come in with the aces and in her first year, she go and take them to the ship. That speaks a lot. That speaks volumes about her abilities and, that next step. I mean, it's undeniable that this woman can definitely run an NBA team. So salute to all of them. I definitely wanted to put that out there while it was on my mind. And I always want to give everybody their flowers across the board. And I think that's something that's real dope. And it's a sight to see. So, yeah. Salute to all y'all. Salute to the Aces for their championship. Salute to Coach Hammond for doing her thing in her first year. And salute to all the female referees in the NFL doing your thing. That's dope. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I've been on here for an hour. And everybody's pretty much giving their view on the thing. And we're all, like I said before, we're all entitled to our own views. And just because our views don't coincide with each other all the time don't mean that I see or feel any different way about anybody. That's just a respect thing. I respect you as an individual, and I expect you to be the person that you are. If you have to change anything about yourself to be around me, then I'm not the person that you need to be around. I say that to everybody. If I have to modify who I am in order for me to be around you, then I just prefer not to be around you. And I expect that from anybody else. I don't expect you to feel like you have to change your behavior or who you are to be in my presence and for us to get along with each other, because I accept everybody for who they are. Truly, 100%. Yeah, that just is what it is. But I'm going to get up here. I'm going to get up off of here for now. Cynthia, I always appreciate you. Hurricane, I always appreciate you. Eve, I appreciate you for dropping through. That's dope that you came through. I appreciate your patronage. Lovey, you already know. Appreciate you, Mike. You know I got your back, dog. It is what it is. And this is your boy D Mac, man. I'm about to be out of here. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.